there's a term called ham and egging, which is that what you really are trying to do is bring two parties together at the same time. You're trying to convince investors that you're making progress on the product at the same time as you're trying to convince customers and other stakeholders that you're making progress on the investment side so things come together. Now, this is a lot of what it takes to be a good entrepreneur, is having a vision for the future and telling people a story about a path that's going to get you there, so both sides will believe that, so that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you can't pull that off, and then you're absolutely, bottom line, forced to make a choice between the two, the product should always come first before the funding, because if you have a product and the product is viable, it will attract interest from somewhere. You might be able to get money from customers. You might be able to borrow. You might be able to get money from asset-based lenders. You might be able to find something. But if you just got money and you have nothing that you've done with it, you're going to have more trouble. But the ham and egging strategy is really the ideal one to follow.
And the issue that you're talking about, Scott, of being able to come up with a compelling vision and tell the story in an influential way requires a set of competencies that we today call social intelligence. That you can be the biggest technical wizard in the world, but if you don't have the ability to get other people excited about the idea, the business isn't going to happen. So one of the things that we're doing here at Weatherhead, we've been doing since 1990, is the lead course that Ellen's going to give you a little taste of, some intellectual tapas tomorrow morning, is distinctive. And I wanted to mention this because the leadership aspect is the one where most MBA programs fail. Most of the above average MBA programs, because I did these studies for the group that accredits business schools, help you improve over the 2 years about 2% on your emotional and social intelligence, which is not a substitute for technical ability, but if you don't have it, you're going to always be mediocre. Ours kicks you up about 65, 67% in the first 2 years, and then it levels off at about a 50% improvement in your behavior 7 years out. That is not just happenstance. That is actually a pedagogical issue.
I just have to add a small data point to this. Is absolutely the case. So I do a lot of work with angel groups, and we've done these small studies on when people are pitching to angel investors, how they get funding. When you look at a set of factors, right, and people are thinking, oh, what does the business plan say? What's the market look like? All these things. Number one predictor in the probability of getting the opportunity to go to due diligence, which is the next stage that you need when you pitch for funding, turns out to be shaking hands and smiling with the investors when you meet them, right? You know, everybody forgets that these basic social skills influence so much of human behavior that when you want to get funding, you worry about how big's the market. That doesn't matter so much. It's if that guy look like they're trustworthy, and if they don't smile and they won't shake your hand, no way would you give them money.
Scott and I both work in the areas of biology of leadership, although we work on some different sides of it. But and it's amazing how when you stop and think about the human being, we're a whole person. But there are some subtleties. So for example, some of the research we're doing now with fMRIs and all that are showing that every time you get people to go into an analytic mode, so they're going to do things with money, numbers, or that kind of problem solving, which you need if you're going to be a successful leader or manager, you activate the part of the brain called the task positive network. But there's a different network in the brain that's responsible for being open to new ideas. It's called the default mode, which also, by the way, enables you to be open to other people. So you'd notice that you should shake their hands and smile and make eye contact, and moral concerns, by the way. The problem is these two networks suppress each other in the brain. So the dilemma is, if you really want to help a person develop, you want to help them develop both. Most MBA programs only do the task positive network. You know, so in the first semester you get accounting, finance, economics, statistics, and then maybe somebody has a genius that said, well, let's study leadership, and they have you study cases of leadership, which is all this. No wonder in most above average MBA programs, people graduate with less social intelligence than they had when they came in. The antidote is pedagogy, and you heard some of my colleagues talk about that this morning, that if you have a pedagogy in the program that encourages people to do projects, to really work in teams, not just to try to do that efficiently, and to periodically be thinking about the interpersonal and the openness to new ideas. What you're literally doing is training your brain to go back and forth. And we're doing research right now trying to show that the people that are most effective leaders can cycle back and forth in under a second.